Summary of Experience by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Experience by Emerson is a philosophical essay examining how people see and understand the world. The first part of the essay is about how experience is personal, individual, and mostly lonely. Emerson says that a person can never really connect with reality and will always be alone in his or her own mind. Then Emerson changes his tone and gives ways to close the gap between the person and reality, or at least start to do so. A long, poetic epigraph comes at the beginning of the piece. The speaker of the song talks about the lords of life, which are the things that shape each person's life. These things are yous, or habits, which take up most of a person's time and decide most of what they do in the world. Surprise breaks up routines because people don't know enough about how the world works to be able to make correct predictions about what will happen. In fact, what people care about is just surface, the way things look. This means that life is like a dream, a succession swift of looks and feelings. Emerson says that these feelings are like a string of beads. Each bead is like a window through which people see the world. Since reality is always just a look, all the bad things that happen to people are just spectral wrong, because they don't really hurt their spirits. Emerson talks about the death of his young son Waldo as the most important case of this. Even though experience seems to be about the world as it is always shaped by a person's temperament, which is the way he or she is born with a natural tendency to see and feel certain things. The last lord of life, or force that rules the others, is the inventor of the game, which is a divine force that creates things. Emerson says that people are basically disconnected from the world and from each other. They can't reach the divine force of nature that makes things happen. Life seems small, and in some ways, it is. Emerson tells the reader to control his or her wants and ease his or her feelings of bad luck by remembering that the human subject is basically alone in the world, so bad luck is really just an inconvenience. Even though there is a big gap between the subject and reality, which Emerson calls an unnavigable sea that washes with silent waves between us and the things we aim at, his essay takes a hopeful turn and looks at how someone could start to bridge this gap and get in touch with how things really are. Emerson tells the reader to follow his example and not craze yourself with thinking and husband every moment of life. Emerson tells the reader to fill the hour and find the journey's end in every step of the road instead of thinking about the past or the future and trying to make their lives add up to something bigger than the sum of their parts. By grounding yourself in experience instead of analyzing it, you might be able to start reintegrating the thinking subject into the objective world of reality by forgetting that the two were ever separated. Emerson's essay shifts from dismal and analytical to poetic and joyful, ending with a hopeful cry to transcendence.
About the author. Ralph Waldo Emerson was one of the most important writers and thinkers in the United States in the 1800s. His Puritan-descended father was a Unitarian preacher, and his devout Anglican mother was his mother. Emerson graduated from Harvard College in 1821 and went on to study at Harvard Divinity School. In 1829, he became a Unitarian minister at Boston's Second Church after being called there. In 1831, his young wife died too soon from tuberculosis. This made him question his Christian faith, and in 1832, he quit the church. He went to Europe, where he met Coleridge, Wordsworth, and Thomas Carlyle, among other great minds and artists of the time. Emerson moved to Concord, Massachusetts, for good in 1834. This would be his home for the rest of his life. Soon after, in 1836, he released Nature, which was his philosophical manifesto and a key text for the transcendentalist movement that grew up around him. This movement stressed the mysterious presence of God in nature. In 1840, he helped Margaret Fuller and others start The Dial, a transcendentalist journal. In 1841 and 1844, he collected and released 2 volumes, or series, of his essays. Experience was published in the second series. Emerson's literary reputation grew over the next few decades, and he gave talks all over the United States. By the time of his death in 1883, he was renowned as the Sage of Concord, one of American culture's greatest figures.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.